Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Minions of the Zoo Night Stream, Thursday edition. This is Prospero, your host, as if you didn't know. And Minions joining me this evening are Skep, Tock,
Hi, everybody.
the Harry Channel,
Good evening.
Mr. Adam,
Hello.
Jenna,
Hey, yeah.
and Sanguine Mathghamhain.
Good evening, all.
We're hoping BP will join us. We'll see. She may have had small creature wrestling going on her schedule tonight. So
Nah, she's scared because I'm so much better at Mortal Kombat than she is. So
You played against her today. She streamed that.
yeah,
She
and
did.
she's preparing for a tournament next
she's
Monday.
she's doing very good with Joker. So
Yeah, she's going to be in a tournament next Monday, which is really cool. She signed up for that, and we're all looking forward to it. I don't know the first thing about the first thing.
No, that's
about
an
it.
electric game,
Yeah,
right?
it-
Like
yeah.
the Pong thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Exactly like Pong, actually.
Just like Pong. Yeah.
And it'll be a sight to see for everyone except for her.
Oh, Chuck!
exactly like Pong.
I swear to God, I need one of those buzzers
Wah,
for
wah.
you. Yeah, just
What is it? The
yeah, that'll do. I
Yeah,
need
Adam,
to
just do
record
that.
you, Adam.
Every time Sanguine speaks.
either that or get Harry to do his ba bum ba bum bum.
Yeah.
No,
yes.
I think actually, given all of the times Sanguine has given stories about how he's big in Asia, we should just give him a damn gong.
And it's really easy to be big in Asia. I mean, look at the average size of a person.
Exactly.
Hey now.
You're an all-star.
Whoa, whoa.
Game on.
Whoa, that was fast.
Go play.
There's
It's a game on.
copyright laws here. But I was gonna say,
all
you
the
know,
glitters is gold.
shout out to the short people.
Don't want no show.
They've got no reason to.
Yeah, short people got no reason.
Oh, jeez.
Here we go. Just Randy Newman's online too.
I love
Sorry.
it. You know that Randy Newman's
And what is
first
your
group was
account?
Harper's Bazaar.
Was it Harper's Bazaar?
He wrote some of the songs, and on one of their tours was one of the singers. He was actually a backup singer with Harper's Bazaar, but he was there's something else, like he was a manager or something.
Huh.
But he was very associated, with that feeling groovy. In olden days, a glimpse of stocking was looked on as
Oh,
something, anything goes.
Yeah.
Prospero,
Yes.
BP is wrangling a child and will be here shortly, says Ape Man.
Well, she'll be here right at her regular height. She won't be here shortly.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Well, no, that's
Pincala.
what Pincala wrote.
Thank you, Pincala. I appreciate that.
I'm being a grammar cop.
It was a joke. Wah, wah.
Right over right.
Shortly. You said shortly. She's not going to be shorter than normal when she gets here.
Yeah. She'll be here shortly. No, she'll be the regular height.
Oh God, that's like the bullet is in him yet. Well, where the hell is he
Yeah.
yet?
Throw the baby out the window. A bottle.
Honest to Pete. Oh God, what were we talking about? I have absolutely
Short people, actually.
Yeah,
and
we were-
weird music.
weird.
And how they
music.
have
Portrait
Weird.
grammatical constructions. Yes. What were you going to say, Adam? Yeah, it was too long ago. I've been there. God, I wish I was there getting loaded with you. That was so much fun.
we need another Minions Con.
We need another MythCon. Yes, we do. Or something. A Minion Con. A MinCon.
We need-
Yeah.
I look at that shirt and I'm like, yeah, dude, MythCon.
Yeah.
I was there.
It
Skep
happened.
just fought the urge to say minicom, I can just tell.
That's just what I was
Hey,
thinking. That's funny.
Well, I had a fun time.
Oh my
so
god.
that's all I gotta say.
You guys
Yep.
looked happy as pigs, and you know what? That night, it was. I swear to God.
And-
That stream that we hosted that I hosted from the hotel room up there.
Frickin'
That
epic.
is one of the most fun times of my whole life.
Yep.
That was really just a gas. We were just having a ball. All of us were.
It
and-
was a joy to watch. Trust me.
It's like the 4th of July that I had at Adams last year. That was fun as shit as well.
The feasting and the
Yes.
and the consuming of things.
I will
feast.
say the best thing about that was Sanguine's cooking. Holy shit!
Wait,
Holy shit!
you had a 4th of July party during COVID, but
Yeah.
we're only allowed 6 people this year.
Yeah, dude, fuck the virus. We kick them in the
Yeah,
asshole.
if you get the vaccine, you can have 8 people.
If you wear double
outside.
mask and have the vaccine, you can have 9 people.
I
Yeah,
wore
I think that's
3
how it
masks and then I still kicked it. Bah! And
But
then
yeah,
ate
This
the
is like.
steak.
We
Sorry,
had
go ahead, Adam.
what was it? 12 pounds of steak that we purchased for that night.
Yeah, that was.
Um,
and that they
Like
look-
4
they look
pounds
public.
sack of potatoes.
There were Brazilians driving by, going, "What? You're stealing our shtick."
Yeah, we had a sack of potatoes, like 12 pounds of steak,
Oh my God.
a
It
couple
was
of
more into
containers of
mushrooms.
mushrooms.
Yeah.
What kind of steak was it?
We got New York strip that time.
Solid choice.
Yeah.
And then
Solid choice.
it was.
Yes.
Did we get 10 or 12 ears of corn? Because we got a good number of ears of corn as well.
All right, so what time?
I would
did
say
you
we
get-
had a lot of
I don't-
ears.
Yeah, I think we're gonna be. I think Sanguine's gonna be hired by the Jenna mob for the steak and clam bake on the beach.
And then, of course, there was the box of booze.
Of course.
Oh God. Yeah. No. Yeah. That was.
The
Well,
Scary.
if you change that into a box of juice, you're all set for my family.
Just
Boxing
bring
juice.
Mountain Dew for her, or Mountain Dew flavor.
I haven't
soda stream.
I haven't had Mountain Dew in 3 weeks.
Wow. Are you
Is
still
that
doing-
all? Is that Lent or what?
No,
What's going
no,
on
it's
there?
her ulcers.
Wait.
It's my
Mountain Dew?
ulcers.
Yeah.
I've been making my own cherry Pepsi.
So do Mormons give anything up for Lent?
No, we give
Okay.
enough up year round.
Yeah, I was going to say, given the sacrifices you make, anyway, it seems like you would get to do extra stuff during.
That would be cruel.
Yeah.
Are you guys begging for me to
And-
turn the soundboard on? Because it feels like you really want me to turn the soundboard
Yeah,
on.
we
Like,
want
get
you
out
to-
Oh, we
my
want you to
tiny
turn it on.
violin.
And
Hold
given
on,
the
hold on.
size of the average Mormon family, I think they're just giving up for Lent.
Wait. Mormons give up something year round? That's a.
No, they don't.
Well, we don't
consume
drink, we
caffeine.
don't smoke, we don't drink.
Hold on, Jenna. You're a
coffee and
Mormon?
stuff. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Well, there's no
Wow.
prescription against swearing.
I
Fuck
didn't
no.
swear.
Fuck no. I love.
Oh shit. Oh damn it. God. Oh, fuck.
I do love how that immediately always triggers someone to spiral.
Yeah.
Don't curse, and suddenly you just let one slip, and then all of them come out in a torrent.
Yeah. It is.
An ejaculation of curses.
Yeah.
Very
The Nephites won.
That's
There
a
you
pleasant
go.
thought.
well said.
Well,
Yeah, there's a perfectly good
Now, were
word
they
that
the
can't
ones-
be used anymore.
That were
Exactly.
white and delightsome, or were they the... I always get those
No,
confused.
they were color of Native Americans.
What color are Native Americans? He asked, thinking stupidly.
They run a gamut.
Well, if you ask Washington State, red.
Okay.
If you ask Oklahoma, red, because that's what Oklahoma means. Land of the red people. I verified that with someone who
No,
speaks some
Mormon.
Tock
Wait,
talk.
wait.
It actually means
Polygamy
home of the
is
stupid
not
people.
in
At least
the
in Texas, that's what it means.
in the Latter-day Saints. We don't do polygamy. No,
Anymore.
that's fundamental Mormon.
You don't do polygamy anymore.
Well, you
Look,
make a
there are
really great
things
point.
that Catholics used to do, but don't do anymore.
Yeah, I know.
What were the former day saints? What were the early ones? What were the first ones to
Oh,
the
stop
party?
it.
Not the latter day saints.
Stop it. We're not.
The
This is not
Nephites.
going to be Rack Jenna on Mormonism night.
It's okay.
We've got enough people that we can pick on.
She's got broad shoulders and thick hide,
I
and she
know.
knows we love her.
I'm trying to figure out how to understand Transformers.
Because he wanted your mother, Mister. Yes.
Because there's
Oh,
more than meets
Jenna.
the eye.
Adam was speaking.
I'm sorry.
Well, no. I don't know if it was just me, but it sounded like the whole conversation was robotic or roboticized.
Oh no. I hope anybody out there
hear.
listening land. Did we robot?
No, it did not robot for me. So I think that's
Okay.
a local
It's just me.
phenomenon. Yeah.
Oh crumb! Just insult to injury. Your interwebs can be stupid on you too. Jeez.
Can I answer this last one to Mister? Yes.
Yes, certainly, please.
Yeah.
Brigham Young actually ended. He did have multiple, but he ended the polygamy thing. So
No more
they-
after me.
Ended the George Clooney. Yeah.
The George
Wait,
Clooney.
what?
George Clooney has multiple wives.
Probably.
What?
I know he has a pig.
See,
That's
this
not
is
a
just
very nice
making
way
me.
to speak about.
Yeah, Mrs. Clooney.
No, a pig.
I heard she was a nice lady.
Oh, no.
I've heard that she was a nice lady too.
I mean, now Joe Biden has a pig. For real.
Did you see what she wore?
Dr. Lady Macbeth, what was she looking at? Like she dropped out of TV.
Oh my God! She was wearing an evening gown. She was
No.
wearing an evening gown that. How would you describe that color?
It was black
But
with flowers on. She was dressed like as
drapes. That's what I was thinking of. Yes.
Oh yes, they could be drapes. Good
But
enough.
she was wearing She was wearing an evening gown that was basically drapes.
I mean, was it all the way to her ankles?
It was all. Yeah, it was a full
Almost
gown.
all the way to her knees.
Her ankles.
But it
were
was
below
cut
her
like
knees.
an evening gown, and it looked like drapes.
Oh, good.
Someone should have said, no. You're not wearing that.
She's trying to dress not like a 70-year-old.
Oh, I know that. That's kind of obvious because the pattern stockings and the ankle boots gave that shit away.
The pattern stockings. Oh my God. The trollop picture.
Yeah.
That was
What
hilarious.
about the one that weren't those fucking fishnets that she was wearing? In
Yeah,
one
those
of
are.
them?
The
That's what we're talking-
Yeah,
that's what
the
we're talking
pattern
about.
stockings. They weren't fishnets. They were patterned. But
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
They
were
looked like fishnet.
I'll
But
bet
and
we-
the throw me down and fuck
the
me shoes she
taffetas-
wears all the time too.
and the
What's up with that?
taffeta skirt or whatever it was with the leather jacket over it with those patterned stockings. It was like, oh, she does kind of look like she's shopping at Wholesale Drapes.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you don't see a lot of chintz or taffeta unless it's hanging up in Grandma's living room. You
It
know.
reminds me of this one substitute teacher that was at one of the high schools I went to, who earned the nickname 1775 because she dressed like she thought that she was 17. She looked like she was 75.
It's not.
Yep.
It's never a good combination. It's never the right thing to do.
Yeah, it's the worst way about it.
Yeah.
Is it like 75 in the possibly 35 but coffee shop waitress for too many years type of look? Is that what we're talking about here? Or
No, this was like legitimately she has great grandkids 75.
okay, okay.
Well, that's interesting.
disturbing.
Serenity said it was T length, which is a peculiar length.
What? How long is length?
Mid calf.
Yeah, it was longish. It was not, like a trailing on the ground evening gown, but it was just wrong. Just look, take a look yourself.
Yeah, I will. I just didn't even bother. I was asleep last night by the time the
You were
thing
smart.
started, and I was very, very happy.
He slung platitudes and lied. He did so much lying. I was amazed his nose didn't grow. He really just prevaricated for so much of the speech. It was getting embarrassing after a while, and he has never met a straw man that he didn't just immediately fall in love with and have to make mad passionate love to.
His lies were just so blatantly lies.
Yes.
Like I created more jobs in the first 100 days than any other president. Well, that's interesting because it was the 11th.
Many statistical lies.
Yes, it was literally 1/11th the jobs that were in the first 100 of Trump.
So I presume Glenn Kessler has said that it was the most truthful and factual address ever given.
Yeah, of course.
Oh yeah, they were orgasming all over it.
I figured. I awakened early enough to immediately find out about what occurred on the heels of Tim Scott's reply out in the Twitter sphere, which was a hell of a thing to encounter at 5 o'clock in the morning.
They are dragging Tim Scott.
Well, calling him Uncle Tim, I thought
11 hours of that
was really that was remarkably self-aware for the group of people that see racists everywhere, for them to immediately go full racist on him.
Yeah.
Because he said...
Wasted no time.
He said the United States isn't a racist country. We're not a racist country. There are racists everywhere, in every part of the world, in every country. We know this, okay? We understand that there are people who can't help but use immutable characteristics to define people.
And you have to remember...
Most of them are called Democrats in this country.
Yeah, I was just about to say, you have to remember the Democrats effectively handout. I swear it has to be a handout somewhere of how to argue as a Democrat. Is the person that you're arguing with white? If yes, call them racist. If no, call them an Uncle Tom, a coon, a house nigger, or any of these other terms. Because they're clearly just internalized.
Sanguine, be careful with your language. We've already got a guideline strike on this channel.
Fair enough. But, yeah, it just becomes, use any of these racial terms. And I'm going, okay, so the people that immediately jump to using a racist term if minority disagrees with them...
Yes.
Are the people that say that they aren't the racists, whereas the people that don't use the racist terms, what the fuck is going on?
Well, if you want to hear probably the worst take, if you're just going to pick a day and decide to reveal that you're the racist you keep seeing everywhere. First, you have your paid legions dropping things like Uncle Tim out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the genius that is Robert Wright, who says that Joe Biden has the potential to be the greatest president since FDR.
He couldn't even make it through a speech.
Okay.
FDR was not a great president.
Yeah, FDR is a
no,
benchmark.
But this is where the whole thing gets even sweeter. Because I've got to find his exact quote just for, and I'm sorry, I'm just talking to keep time here, but my God, I was impressed. Now, you run into a lot of fucking stupid on Twitter. I mean, a lot of it. But this was almost biblical. That Robert Wright would be this incredibly tone deaf. Oh ho ho! He deleted it.
Oh.
Did you screenshot it?
No.
Well, what was the gist of what he
The
said?
gist of it was that FDR had to battle racists and xenophobes arrayed against him, just like Joe Biden does. And he got fucking dragged every which way but loose about the internment camps.
Also, the fact that this was the third time that the Democrats resurrected the KKK. Because that's something that people keep on forgetting. The first KKK popped up after the Civil War. Grant killed it. The second KKK popped up around, like, just before Wilson and then through Wilson. And
Was
then...
Was that when that movie was played in the White House?
Birth of the Nation, yes.
Birth of a
Absolutely.
Nation. Prospero, I think I found the basis for the Robert Reich quote. This is from a column that Robert Reich wrote on Valentine's Day of this year. He said, Congress is moving ahead with Biden's American Rescue Plan, which expands health care and unemployment benefits and contains one of the most ambitious efforts to reduce child poverty since the New Deal. Right behind it is Biden's plan for infrastructure and jobs. So, and he makes a number of comparisons in this column to FDR, yeah, and just a bunch of call outs and so forth. And what I love is, and I'll shut up after this, but he says this is later on in the column, he says, a few Democratic economists who should know better are sounding the false alarm about inflation, but Biden is wisely ignoring them. So should Democrats in Congress.
Oh my God.
That's where I want to walk up to Robert Reich and just say, you have lost the right to open your mouth. I mean, yes, you can say words in public, but no one should pay any attention to anything you say.
I'd kind of like to club Robert Reich with Paul Krugman.
Well, when he says stuff like
both of those idiots say things like that.
no, he
Don't
says
worry about
he
inflation.
says another conservative bromide is that a larger national debt crowds out private investment and slows growth. That's because it does. This view hamstrung the Clinton and Obama administrations as deficit hawks warned against public spending unaccompanied by tax increases to pay for it.
What?
I know. There's so much wrong with that statement. Where do you even start?
Okay, the deficit hawks always advocated for lower taxes to stimulate growth because it increases your tax revenue.
Right, exactly.
If you have
That's what
more
a deficit. Right, exactly.
If you have more employed people, you have higher tax revenue. If you have greater industry profit, you have tax revenue.
Yeah. Who are these mysterious Democratic deficit hawks of which you speak, Dr. Reich, you dumbass?
It was the Republicans arguing consistently that Clinton is part of the reason he did the triangulation thing. That he needed to stick to the policies that had been carried out through Reagan and Bush the first. And Clinton did, because Clinton was riding coattails of a decent economy.
Speaking of which, his final statement in his column is, it's no small irony that a half century after Reagan persuaded Americans that big government was the problem, Trump's demise is finally liberating America from Reaganism and letting the richest nation on earth give its people the social supports they desperately need.
Oh my God. but the social support.
Is this the quote you were looking for? Serenity sent me a link to, or us a link to the article.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Let me
You want to embiggen me?
Yes, I am going to embiggen you. Clickety click click solo layout. Yeah, Biden could be as transformative a president as FDR. But FDR didn't have to contend with a paranoid, xenophobic, racist opposition.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Drenched in lies and extremist propaganda from right-wing media. Yeah, he did. He had
Well,
xenophobes, my friends,
Abounded.
were everywhere.
Yeah.
And the racists were the party in charge.
Fucking Charles Lindbergh, the national hero of the United States, is the xenophobe in chief in 1939.
Yeah.
there's one thing.
And he did have, FDR had obstructionist Republicans. Of course he did.
Yeah.
But he had Democrats who didn't want to go to war.
I was going to say, what about those Democrats down south?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say, the one thing that
Well,
it might be somewhat right in is, it might not have been from right-wing media. After all, that was the purview of the left wing at that time, especially.
Good Snopes fact check, Sanguine. Find the one element that's different and go false.
Yeah, but this is just utter
It's amusing
bullshit.
to do.
Not to mention the fact that they rounded up Japanese Americans and had to be told, by 1944, finally, I think it was, by the Supreme Court, you fucking assholes, you can't do that. I mean, but they'd already lost everything. You know, it's just... ew.
See, this is just
Ew.
making me remember. Do you guys remember when people were going after Destiny like a week ago? Because he was talking to Robert Wright, and he disagreed with Robert Wright on one of the major things that Wright was pushing.
How did somebody like Density score an interview with Robert Wright?
Because
I don't even know who Density is.
Yeah.
Destiny
Density
is
Southwest.
a left-wing YouTuber / Twitch streamer.
Sucking
Is
enough
Destiny a
left-wing
bread tuber?
cock.
Does that label apply to Destiny? Is that a bread tuber, or is he not that far to the right?
He
left.
started out
Whatever.
kind of breadtube, and then he's been moving away from breadtube
that's good.
consistently, which is
Growth
what
good.
has been getting people pissed off at him, because he
He's
went
not
into
progressive enough for him
yeah
now.
he went into several
Destiny isn't progressive enough for them now.
Good
he went
God.
into several arguments with Vosh, which got
Yeah.
a bunch of people to hate him, and it was over things like, look, if someone's trying to kill you, hell yes, you have the right to kill them instead. And that was unbelievably just beyond the pale for the communists to imagine.
Yeah.
That
No, we
if
just
you're
kill
trying-
enemies of the state. We don't kill people.
yeah, if you're trying to
Nobody
kill
tries
someone,
to kill us.
then they should be allowed to kill you back. And no, they shouldn't be allowed to kill us back. They should just die. They should just be good and die. And he had an interview with Robert Wright, and Robert Wright started doing why is a CEO paid more than the assembly line worker? And Destiny went, well, it's the number of people that can do the job. There's probably a lot more people that can do the job of being on the assembly line than there are people that can do the job of being a CEO. And if a CEO really screws up, everyone's out of the job.
Yeah,
if
not
an
the
assembly
list.
line worker really screws up, a
The
couple products
CEO's
are
out of the
fucked.
job.
Yeah, risk and responsibility levels are different. You know,
See, if the assembly line workers suck and they make a defective product and somebody gets killed because of the defective product, the CEO is the one looking at packing his shit and leaving. It isn't the assembly line workers.
Yep.
But to
And-
Robert Reich, you know, the CEO gets up in the morning and goes to work. Same as the assembly line worker. They both get up in the morning, take a shower, go to work, come home, eat a meal, go to bed, and do the same the next day. They're interchangeable. One skill set is not different from the other.
And he
It
has
should
the-
not, it should not be, and there's no reason for it to be. If people were educated correctly, everyone would be able to do all the jobs.
And he has the insanely puerile view that the only thing that factors into the price of something, that factors into how much something is worth, is the work that goes into it. Like,
Value
there's
the labor.
nothing else that can be calculated in, because if you're making that calculation, yeah, the amount that you pay your workers, that does affect the final product price. But there's a shit ton of other factors as well.
I have a question. Did Lysenko write some books on economics that I'm not aware of, and that's what these guys studied?
Well,
Robert Wright
It's
is
just-
writing
it's just-
Lysenko's economics.
it's just insane. Here's the thing. It's actually against the law. There are laws against capitalizing the value of software, because here's what people were doing. Harry knows a lot about this, I bet. People were paying people to write software, and then they were saying they were listing it as an asset, and they were valuing it at the amount of salary they had paid the people to write that piece of software, not on what its market value was. And then they were using that value of their capital account to go out and borrow money and leverage themselves. I mean, this is a classic strategy of software startups, and it didn't take the government long to catch on to the fact that that needs to be illegal. We need to stop that right now, because it's just too easy to hide stuff in the technical details, and investors cannot reasonably get the straight story on what they're investing in. So and the fallacy of valuing anything other than on what a free market will pay for it has been proved again and again and again, and it's like the world just will not learn that basic lesson. It's the reason it has the same basis in logic as the fact that labor has no intrinsic value. That was Marx's biggest and chiefest error, and he made many, but this one was the biggest error, and that was saying that labor has an inherent value. It has no inherent value unless someone is willing to purchase the labor. That's the nature of value. But he said no, it has an inherent value, and you should run your society based on the inherent value of that labor. And he drew that out from what he believed was an inherent, it was almost a Kantian notion of the inherent worth of the individual. A concept with deep philosophical roots to it, and that when it comes out as dollars and cents, all of a sudden it falls on its face. People do not have an inherent capital value. Labor does not have an inherent capital value. There's no way to value anything except based on what a market will pay for that thing, whether it's a good, a service, or whatever. Anyway, wanted to get that out there. That's important.
Yeah, it is that labor, the value theory of labor is total trash.
Yes.
I mean, it's talk to a farmer.
Yeah.
Talk to any artisan or any farmer about the value theory of labor. And
But you talk to a union organizer and they'll say, no, labor definitely has an intrinsic value, because that's the way they have to come at it.
Oh, yeah.
Skep, I was told last night that the middle class makes us and unions made the middle class or some shit like that.
Yeah, that's actually not true.
Nope.
I know that. I also was told that we the people means the people that was in that chamber.
If we're talking an appreciable sized middle class, that was Ford made the middle class.
Yeah, well.
But you're talking about like what
Well,
Joe Biden was saying?
Yeah.
Ford was
shit.
Yes,
emblematic
Adam,
of some overall things that that were going on that created the middle class, and certainly the automotive industry and the steel industry and the railroads, all the big capital intensive
We went from
industries.
pre-takeoff economy to takeoff in a very, very short period of time.
Yeah, in about 25 years.
Yeah, it's
And
pretty
he was one of the
extraordinary.
spearheads on that.
Yeah.
A lot of the things that he instituted became
But there were
the
a whole
standard.
there were a whole lot of other things. We moved.
Oh yeah.
We moved farther and deeper into the service industry, and by that I mean insurance and things like that. That
And a fellow named Vanderbilt went into the import and export business. That changed a lot of things.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's. I know at the 70s, like the U.S. was underwriting most of the world in the insurance industry. I mean, it was amazing the amount of value.
Yeah, that was a pretty significant shift because prior to that, the insurance industry had been centered in England.
Yeah. Yep. And then it moved to Hartford, Connecticut.
And they had literally moved to
it-
a city in Connecticut. That's exactly
Yeah.
right.
Johnny Dollar.
Yeah, it was pretty extraordinary if you looked at the amount of money generated by the insurance industry in the 60s and the 70s. It was just extraordinary. And I'm not talking about the healthcare insurance industry.
Oh, no.
I am talking about life, property casualty, those kinds of insurance.
If you look at a property list and look at who owns the buildings, the big tall buildings in downtown New York City, in Manhattan, you will see that almost 2-1, they are owned by insurance companies and mutual funds. And it's a few banks, but it tends to be insurance companies.
Yeah.
The banks now are starting to get owned by
Or what insurance companies have morphed into, because they've certainly
right,
they've done a
financial
lot.
conglomerates almost.
Yeah, they have. I mean, Prudential is a entirely different creature than it was.
Back from the
different.
Probate days.
Yeah, it's not.
Seems almost quaint as 35 years ago.
Yes, yeah, it does, because it made a sea change.
Prudential is buying Bates Securities. Holy shit,
Yeah, I mean, they went into the securities business. A lot of them went in, like you said, commercial real estate business. It's just pretty extraordinary shift, and they still control an awful lot of capital.
Yeah.
A lot. Harry has a thought experiment for us.
I do.
Oh boy, I love those.
Because this is, I mean, a lot of economics doesn't really make sense until you think about kind of an experiment. Like, what if we did the following? So imagine if Robert Reich put on his fairy outfit. Fairies can be dudes too, so this is not sexist, I promise. And does what fairies do, which is screw everything up because fairies are dicks. And waves his little magic wand and changes it so everybody makes the same amount of money.
Yeah.
But you don't change anything else. We just make it so labor has an intrinsic value. It's based on the number of hours worked. That's that. And you are a provider of something that the process of making it is just kind of terrible. Whether it's working with ammonia chicken paint slime or working in just whatever it is. You're the guy who empties the honey buckets, right? Mm-hmm. Now, okay, the honey buckets are perfect. So imagine you're the guy, you run a service, and all you do is run around emptying porta potties.
Right.
And you have to try to convince people for the same amount of money as you would get being an usher at a movie theater, or a
mattress
page at a
tester.
library, or a mattress tester, or working at a cannabis dispensary, going, yeah, this one is really good. It makes you calm and you don't go crazy or whatever. Whatever it is. All jobs are the same because all labor is now the same.
Right.
How the hell is that supposed to work? And there's only one way it can work, which is the only way you could get somebody to do that would be you'd say, look, I can totally understand that you're just going to basically screw around all day. So if you just do 1 hour's worth of work, I'll just let it slide because I need somebody that badly. And that's what's going to happen. And effectively, that person is going to, by one means or another, make 8 times what everybody else makes, because that's the only way you will get somebody to do the damn job.
Right.
Yep.
The nature of markets and the nature of supply and demand in human populations is such that in a guided or programmed economy, the instant The instant you stop using direct force to coerce conformance behavior among the population, the moment that happens, the population will begin to subvert the system. And they will subvert it according to market forces. They will subvert it according to the value that may be assigned to a good or service based on the demand and based on the amount of supply and the rapidity of supply. There's actually a little bit more to it than that. But anyway, make a long story short, yeah, it will be instantly subverted, Harry.
Well, most black markets, if you think about it, are filling a niche, right?
They're not black markets.
Yeah,
they're
are
the market.
Black market. They're the white. They're actually white hat markets.
Yeah, they're actually just the market.
If you're a market person,
yeah,
that's exactly what they are, and people call them the black market because they're into the control thing, and they view all this stuff that isn't happening according to the plan,
right,
as
the forced theft of
not
resources.
Proper, regulations do the same thing. Hyper-regulation or prohibition does the exact same thing.
Right.
And you end up with a separate market economy operating beneath the so-called legal one. And it's funny how people will get highly moralistic about those economies. And you're like, well, you're the ones that made that economy come into being. By being the highly moralistic dickwads that made all the fun illegal. So now all the fun is in this market over here. Surprise. Prohibition and hyper-regulation don't work. You can have a well-regulated... You can regulate business to a certain extent to stop predatory behaviors, to stop truly antisocial behaviors. We tried to some extent with the Sherman Antitrust Act to go after.
That's actually an act that has long since served its purpose.
It has.
That's an example of legislation never dying, and that's one that needs to die because it's used capriciously now. It's only ever hauled out capriciously.
Yeah, it's.
We need to hurt this company. Do we have anything we can hurt this company with? Well, let's get them under Sherman. Okay.
Yeah, and the attachment,
and Clayton is just about as bad too. By the way, the Clayton Antitrust Act is another one.
Yeah, and it also, people will say it's to make sure we never have monopolies. All right. We have...
Fuck off.
Number one, there are such things as natural monopolies.
How's that working with Amazon?
Yeah, well, okay, just skip that. But there are such things as natural monopolies. They might be regional rather than national, but they're still going to
the power company.
There's the power company, the gas company. A lot of these, because it's scale.
You cannot have privately owned roads.
Yeah, it's scale.
It's just almost always not workable.
And so there are natural monopolies. That is something you learn or you used to learn in basic economics. That there are certain things that scale will create a natural monopoly.
I understand they're teaching Wright these days, by the way.
I'm not surprised.
I just thought I'd make your evening.
Yeah, and being the stellar economist who wasn't trained in economics.
It's an asshole.
He was political science, wasn't he? And business policy. Or like Kennedy School of Government kind of thing. I can't remember what his CV is, but I don't remember him, coming out of the...
I thought Reich was an economist, but, now that you mentioned it, let me just check real quick.
He may have gotten an undergraduate degree in economics but I keep thinking his training was not formally as an economist. There's a lot of crossover, so I don't want to be too much of a bully to the guy, but please.
He was a Rhodes Scholar. He has his BA from Dartmouth. He has a master's from Oxford. He got a law degree from
Yeah.
Yale. Let me just check what his master's is in.
Yeah, I don't remember it being business per se. But then again, none of these jackasses have spent that much time in the private sector, if at all.
And the
No, his Rhodes Scholarship was to study philosophy, politics, and economics at University College, Oxford. And then, while a Rhodes Scholar at Oxford, that's where he met Bill Clinton. Yada yada yada. He didn't pass the physical to serve in the Army because he was under 5 feet.
Mm-hmm.
He subsequently earned a JD from Yale Law School. It doesn't say what his master's was in. I have to assume that he took a degree in philosophy, politics, and economics. I suppose.
That's awfully blurry.
Yeah,
If you know what I
need
mean.
to understand this. It's an interdisciplinary undergraduate or postgraduate degree which combines the study. Yeah, he did. Combined study from all 3 disciplines. The first institution to offer this was the University of Oxford in the 1920s. And blah, 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 blah. It's produced a number of notable graduates, none of whom were thought leaders in anything except for Christopher Hitchens. And let's see. No, it's basically looks like a vanity degree almost. It's like
Interdisciplinary degree.
Yeah, you're a Rhodes Scholar. It's like the equivalent of general studies. I'm sorry, but it is. I hate that.
It's like people saying that
got one, but
it's like saying AOC has a degree in economics, which she does not have.
God, that just makes me mad.
And
She has the brain of a hamster.
Not
She could not make it through an economics.
I'm not sure that she could figure out how to work the wheel. So I think it's a bit insulting to hamsters.
Not that oh
In
my
wheels.
God, how do I get this thing to turn? They told me to pull myself up by my bootstraps, but I keep falling out of the chair when I try that. God.
But the government has always had a really difficult time understanding that there are jobs that you need to pay more in order to get people to be willing to do them. It understands for certain types of things, like sanitation work. They can get that with sanitation work for some reason. But corrections work, they don't quite have it grok when it comes to corrections. And when it comes to a number of other professions as well, where they'll be in a constant state of critically understaffed. So they're critically and chronically understaffed. And they never quite realize, if we increase the pay, we could probably get more people willing to join and work this job. And we would probably have a higher retention rate if we did that. Also, we could be more selective. They just ignore that, and they add on additional HR.
Well, you have unpleasant jobs, and you also have high-risk jobs.
Yep.
Where you cannot pay an electrical lineman the same as you pay a hotel clerk.
Yeah.
You simply can't, because hotel clerks don't have some rookie move the truck when they're holding a hotline.
Yep, and
that doesn't happen, but there's
Robert Wright dated Hillary Clinton.
Did not.
Just shut up. He did.
How
when he was
bred
at Dartmouth.
these people are.
Oh my God! Yeah, and his classmates at Yale were Bill and Hillary Clinton, Clarence Thomas, Michael Medved, and Richard Blumenthal.
What a crowd! There are 2 of them that I'd turn my back on. 2 out of that group, I'd turn my back on without, and I mean in the positive.
Well, it's in addition to Bill and Hillary Clinton, obviously.
Well, I'm saying in the positive sense that I wouldn't expect to be stabbed in the back by them.
Oh yeah, Clarence Thomas and Michael Medved.
Medved. Yeah, the other three.
Richard Blumenthal's
The
the
other
biggest
four.
snake
Yeah,
that
yeah.
ever came out of Yale.
Yeah.
You don't
I
have to turn around to be stabbed by a Clinton.
I know that, but what I'm saying is, you know how there's some people. It's the theory of you need to have your back to the wall facing the door.
Oh yeah, I completely get what you
Yeah.
are saying.
I could turn my back to, to them without expecting at any moment disaster to befall me. The others, Oh my God. Blumenthal's a loathsome turd. He's, ugh. Ugh.
I have an idea that I think that Hillary Clinton in her black book back in the day, I'm sure she had some sort of notation that she would put next to people in the book. And I don't know if it was like a tiny eggplant or the letters PF or something, but I'm sure there was some designation next to Reich in her book.
Nice.
Why did we stop dating? Oh, yeah, PF. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, and the other book that she keeps, they're little boxes of salt with Delenda Est written next to them.
and items suitable for totem making.
We found
It's
out
okay,
she had
this
an entire
particular-
closet of voodoo dolls. I would not be
This
surprised.
particular doll doesn't need articulated knees, but a thin neck might work out well.
Oh dear me.
I just want YouTube to know I explicitly did not say what you think I just said.
Oh, I thought, yeah, that's right. He was talking about Pencil Neck Geek, the professor that was on Tucker. That guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh my God.
You mean
Just wrap some
Rat
toilet
Pack?
paper around this
I
one.
just got a picture of that guy in my head, and now all I can see is the big hair and the neck.
Oh God, it was just, it was riveting. I could not take my eyes off the screen. I was like, is that thing getting longer? It's
The
just-
question is, which neck wins, long neck or thick neck?
This guy looked like a giraffe was his daddy.
Oh yeah, I know exactly which one you're referring to. There's the long neck professor dude who was just spouting absolute insanity, and then there's the thick neck corrections picture that ended up being leaked, where it was a offender who had a neck
Oh yeah, that guy.
that was almost as thick as my thigh.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
that guy was amazing. I mean, it's like his ears were resting on his shoulders.
Yeah, his neck was at least like 25 inches in circumference.
Is that who I think it is?
I think it might be.
It's not me. So
Yeah, it is. Bless him. The
I have one nice thing about Robert Reich. Reich? I can never get his name
Reich.
right.
Reich.
As in
Like the
Achtung.
third.
Yeah, I was.
Yes, Achtung, baby.
Thank
No, he is good at one thing. He's remarkably consistent when he's wrong.
Oh yes.
There are a lot of asshats out there now that'll just say whatever dumb thing suits them based on the direction of the wind. But no, Robert Reich, he is consistent. It doesn't matter if the world is with him or against him. He will say the same wrong thing at any time. He is perpetually wrong. And
he
that's
and
actually
Krugman.
it feels like he's being honest about being wrong.
He and Krugman have a lot in common in that regard.
I think Krugman's more of an opportunist by half. Honestly, I think Krugman is a lot more of a weather vane than Reich.
Yeah, except they're both profoundly wrong. And when was the last time Krugman was right?
Well,
Well,
kind of
you
like
gotta
Bernie
re-
Sanders, Reich is just wrong consistently about the same thing as the years go on. Somebody like Krugman, he is an opportunist, and whatever he needs to say to sort of curry favor, he'll go along with it. He can't believe this stuff about deficits.
No, he doesn't. That's utterly. But listen, these two people are not comparable. Okay, first of all, Krugman is an economist with a very real skill in economics. He understands economics. He understands it profoundly. He's utterly cynical about it, and he adopts political positions and uses the fact that he has been an authority in other parts of economics and has written a ton of stuff in other areas about it to curry favor with the politically au courant set, and thereby finagle a Nobel Prize by basically saying that the deficit doesn't matter. But in point of fact, he's fundamentally different from Wright. Wright is a political guy who got chosen for the Council of Economic Advisors, and that is what made his reputation such as it is as an economist. But in point of fact, he's utterly political, does not really have economic skills. He doesn't even have the equivalent of an undergraduate degree in economics. He's a real piece of shit. He's a lawyer who has parlayed the fact that he was chosen for an utterly political position into having a reputation as an economist, which is wholly undeserved.
Yeah, he's referred to in the press as an economist.
Yeah, but that's only because he was on the
right. And I could, I could sit on the Council of Economic Affairs.
Sure.
But that I am not an economist, and
I'll tell you.
So stolen valor is what he has in common with Richard Blumenthal.
Kind of, but I'll give you an example of somebody who actually had the chops. Was a guy by the name of Jack Stieber. Who was Jack Stieber? Well, he was on John Kennedy's Council of Economic Advisors, and he never got beyond a master's degree in economics. But his economic writings were so bright, so revelatory, so groundbreaking that he never bothered to get a PhD. And he was a full boat tenured professor at SMU. In fact, he was my microeconomics instructor, and he's the only tenured professor at SMU who didn't have a PhD, and he was very proud of that fact.
I don't blame him.
I used to drink with the guy. He was an excellent man. Just fabulous stories to tell about the Kennedy administration.
Oh, I bet.
Very interesting guy.
Some people are just particularly good at what they do.
And for those of you Wikipediaing him, it's Stieber, if I remember correctly. It's either that or EI. Check it both ways. Jack Stieber.
It should be IE, but that doesn't mean
I think it's
US.
I think I used to get that wrong even
it doesn't
back
mean
in the day.
anything in the US though, because German names, the EIE stuff gets switched around all the time.
Yeah.
As we know, Steinstein.
Yep.
There's no accounting, is there?
Oh, it's very regular language. It's Stieber. That's what it was. Yeah.
So it's being pronounced correctly, actually.
Yes.
It's Stieber.
Yep.
When I and E go walking, the second does the talking.
Nice.
I never heard that.
Yeah, it's the easiest way to remember it.
That's really kind of sweet. So, other than lying through his teeth, Biden do anything else interesting? I heard he only really misspoke twice and seemed to recover okay. But beyond that, I never heard of anything other than it was just all bullshit.
It was all bullshit. It was a constant stream of bullshit. It was like that 3D printing of those houses, except it was like a cannon of bullshit.
Oh, okay.
It was not good. Did you want to talk about, or do you want to talk about the Giuliani thing? I don't have any special insight into it other than it kind of annoys me.
Well, it annoys me because they keep doing these things so publicly to one particular group of people and so privately to others.
Yeah, let's weaponize the IRS, and while we're at it, hey, let's go searching through a lawyer with an active bar license as electronics. on what sounds a lot like a fishing expedition. Because if they don't get him on one thing with his associates in Ukraine, I'm sure they'll
It's
find
the Southern
something else
District
in
of
there.
New York.
It's
Of
a
course,
total fishing
Of
expedition.
course, it's
Well-
a fishing expedition. That's what the Southern District of New York does.
Yes, you're right.
To
sold-
political enemies, that's what they do. It's their stock and fucking trade. They're one of the most corrupt branches of the Justice Department.
They saw
Outside
Barry
of the
get away with it.
goddamned FBI.
They saw Barry get away with it. It get called a conspiracy theory, despite all the documents going, no, it was being done. Here's all the proof that it was being done. No, it's just a conspiracy theory. So, what do they have to fear doing it again?
It doesn't surprise me because the FBI got called out again just this week for surveilling electronic communications of people without a warrant.
Mm-hmm.
It's because they were tapping into all the ultra far right people, yet apparently were completely caught off guard in January. Maybe it's because you were following the wrong people, per usual. God Almighty, it's funny. Somebody asked me on Twitter why it was I wanted the FISA court done with, because of what the FBI was doing. And it's like, because they've been fucking rubber stamping this behavior out of the FBI for decades. The FISA court is a star chamber and it needs to go away.
Mm-hmm.
There are no public records kept that we could, they're records kept, but the public cannot access.
Cannot see him. Yeah.
The hearings are closed, and they are hearings. They're not just warrant applications signed by a judge and shot back because amicus.
Are they done in a chamber shaped like a star?
That's what I'd like to know, because that's exactly what it. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's like, why don't we just reinstate bills of attainder?
Right. Exactly. Yes.
No, it's a court shaped like a kangaroo.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Truly.
Yeah, it is. And I mean,
It's a little harder. When you bake it, the edges get a little toasty.
Look, as much as I can appreciate
breaks off.
concerns about national security, we've seen judges who operate out in the open close hearings under special circumstances, and that's that's the discretion one hopes that judges have. But this idea that we've got this, and what's disgusting about this is all part and parcel of the Church Commission. That committee back in the 70s, where they wanted to make sure the the CIA didn't do anything rotten, and they managed to empower the FBI and the NSA to do all kinds of rotten shit.
Yeah.
And so you traded some bad apples in the CIA pulling wet ops that they really shouldn't have been doing on, like, I don't know, assassinating world leaders. That's fine. You wanted to get rid of that, but you didn't have to weaponize the fucking FBI and the NSA against American citizens.
That was the rats going to other places, I think.
Yeah, it is.
I was talking about Rudy Giuliani, or what they were going to do to Derek Chauvin.
Oh, yeah, well, they were going to bust in and arrest him for, quick, Commissioner, turn on the virtue signal. We're going to rush in and arrest him in the event.
Violating civil rights.
Yeah. But they wanted to do it in the courtroom because it's all fucking theater to these people. The law means nothing to these assholes.
Look how magnificent.
It really doesn't.
I mean, this is what is absolutely revolting about these people. And trust me, it's not just the goddamn Democrats. George Bush whistled past the graveyard while this shit was being done to people. He's perfectly happy with the Patriot Act. Ain't that great? We're going to keep everybody safe. The FBI can't.
It's a temporary act. It's a temporary act,
Yeah, fuck me.
Like income tax is temporary too, by the way.
And
that's
tax,
another
we're gonna
reason.
pay off that bridge.
Yeah, that's another reason Trump pissed these people off. Because he didn't much like that. He didn't like the way the security state was behaving. because he saw that it was being weaponized against his countrymen. And it sure as shit was weaponized against him.
And he was more upset when it was weaponized against people
Other people
other
than
than
him.
himself.
Yeah, I don't think
He thought he could fight that fight, but when it went after somebody else, it was...
Well, it
Fuck
annoyed
you,
the
you're
hell
fake
out of
too.
him, and justifiably so that they did it to him. But yeah, he was irritated that the mechanics of this existed, that it could be used.
If everybody laughed
Yeah.
at him saying that they were wiretapped. Well, they were. They don't use that word anymore, but they were spying on his campaign.
This is... We've had corruption, but I tell you, the Obama administration raised it to a fucking art form. And I mean, the Bush administration sucked. Okay? As far as civil liberties go. This is not a red team, blue team thing. This is the FBI is profoundly corrupt.
James,
It's more of a
told me I
whole
trust
thing.
him with my kids.
It's more of a... I'm sorry. What, Jenna?
Oh, I was saying about
Speaking
James
to-
told me.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Sorry. I had to put my mic set back on. I had to deal with the
Okay.
kid.
Okay. Skep, I'm sorry, hon. What did you say?
Well, no, I just said you said it wasn't a red team, blue team thing. I was agreeing with you. It's more like a hold my beer thing.
Yeah, they're just one-upping each other.
Exactly, and they really did.
I mean, because Bush sucked. Obama sucked harder.
Yeah, watch this.
Oh, okay, you were spying on these people. I know what we're going to do. We're going to have an enemies list in the press, and we're going to spy on them.
Yeah, it'll be great.
That's fine. We can do that. Nobody will care. We're an absolutely blameless group of people. Nothing we ever did was corrupt. And Lois Lerner, it was just some low-ranked people in the Cincinnati office who got a wild hair up their ass and just managed to,
On their own.
90-some% of the time, fuck around with people's 501c3 and C4 applications.
Yeah, they were all conservatives. How odd. What are the odds?
It wasn't all conservatives.
Yeah,
there were like two.
Yes, there were like literally a couple.
That is the whole motherfucking...
One or two.
You know what that is? That's plausible deniability.
Take actions that would make fucking Nixon blush.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, really, and Nixon was, God, corrupt.
Nixon
But
could have learned from these people.
He's
Watergate
absolutely
was so
could have.
quaint compared to what they're doing.
No
now.
shit.
Oh, yeah.
Jonathan Turley had said about Obama that he had that Obama had imperial, that's the word, aspirations that would make Richard Nixon blush.
People don't realize.
That's a hell of a thing to say.
People don't realize what the tenor of the time was. LBJ broke into and bugged the Goldwater headquarters. People forget history. It's like it never happened. Bullshit. Did too.
Yeah. Yep.
Idiots.
Well, it
I
never
can-
happened if it was a certain side doing it, and it always happened, even when it didn't, when it was another.
Well, yes, because
yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
frustrated too, saying I know what you mean.
It
Yeah.
is an unequal scorn levied against those behaviors based on who's doing them. Yeah. But it's still, the Patriot Act is shit. It shouldn't exist. It
never should have existed.
No, because it doesn't do its job. I'm sorry, but the FBI was tipped off by Russian intelligence to the Tsarnaevs, and they had their thumbs so far up their ass, because they're too busy spying on Americans, that they couldn't figure out that these guys, boingy, 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 back and forth to Chechnya, might be a risk.
Hmm.
Fuck's sake. I mean, look, the Russians are no great friends of ours, but when they're
What
like,
do they got to do? Blow up a parade or something?
yeah,
Ugh.
yeah, dipshits. Look at these lone wolf terrorist acts that have taken place. Oh, the FBI was aware of all these guys.
Yeah.
And
We
it's,
don't consider that a threat at this time.
Yeah,
it's
at
not
this
like
time.
it's been known for fucking ages that one of the most fucked up groups that you can run into when it comes to the insurgents are the Chechnyan insurgents that keep on popping up.
kidding. No
Yeah.
kidding. I
Crazy
mean,
Eastern
you don't
Europeans who
have
just
to.
don't fucking care.
You don't
Yeah.
have to trust the Russian intelligence. You take the intelligence and you verify it. That's not that hard to do. Have they been flying back and forth to Chechnya? Do we know that there are terrorists in Chechnya? Hell the fuck yes. That was a matter of global knowledge.
Yeah, they're insane sons of bitches.
This was not a difficult, oh, well, we had them under surveillance, but we just don't have the manpower. That's right, because you're busy leafing through James Rosen's parents' phone book. That's why you don't have the time to look for the terrorists.
Not wrong.
I mean, they
Not wrong at all.
somebody messed around with Cheryl Atkinson's computer. We don't know how that happened.
And
You don't.
Snowpilot brought up an important thing that we all need to remember, because as we were all told, it is only insurrection if it happens during business hours. If it's after hours and you're burning a federal courthouse, that's not an issue.
No shit. And by the way, Michael Beschloss, historian.
He's not. That's no historian.
Oh, this is the guy I think
That's a hack writer.
This twat waffle today had said that what happened on January 6th was the worst threat to our democracy since the Civil War. Okay, number one.
That's what Biden said.
You owned that guy.
Number fucking one. Somebody planted a bomb in the Capitol in 1984. Sparky. Let's try that one. And,
that was the Weatherman, right?
No,
I
but it was a
love
similar fucked up group of...
I thought it was the Weatherman.
No, that's kind of past their heyday. But
Are you
I
talking about the FNLA?
Was it FNLA that planted
I
the one
think
in
it was.
84?
I think that was
or
them.
a fringe group similar to them.
Yeah, it was somebody, them or a clone group.
One of the ladies involved in it is now on the board of Black Lives Matter, okay?
Yeah.
This is all fine, right? That's fine. Fine. Why don't we put Bill Ayers in charge of national security? But Skep and I both lived through the 60s and the 70s. FNLA was blowing shit up all over New York. We had the Weathermen. We had protests in this country and civil unrest in the 60s and the 70s that would make, oh my God, that cartoon, you play the Benny Hill music behind January 6th by comparison to the shit that went on at the Chicago Convention in 68. My God.
Also, we have areas that have actively announced secession from the U.S. over the summer. In fact, one of them is not terribly far from where I am.
Oh, no. But those aren't any kind of a threat to democracy because all they're going to do is plant plants and raid targets. It's fine.
And secede from the U.S.
Prospero,
Kind of
it was the May 19th communists. That's who
thank
it
you.
was. It was the red guerrilla assholes. That's
Okay.
who they were.
They're all interchangeable pricks.
Yeah,
They're violent assholes.
Yep.
And I mean, the most entertaining thing about the Weathermen is they blew up a couple of their own. These were not. It is the right of every American to protest their government. We have that right. We can get out in the street and we can protest against the Vietnam War. We can protest against other matters, as long as we do so without violence. And it's not that hard to do. There have been gazillion peaceful protests, but there were an awful lot of violent protests that went on in the 60s. And there was a lot of civil unrest, and a lot of people were very anxious.
Also, I still
Very
crack.
anxious by it. I was not particularly anxious January 6th. I was aggravated and irritated.
Do you remember 1968, the summer the cities burned?
Jesus Christ, what Anacostia, Watts, and then you had the 68 riots at the Democratic National Convention.
Yeah,
I
that
still.
was some shit.
That was a lovely year. 2 major assassinations and cities in flames. But no, that wasn't a threat to American democracy.
I still
Wasn't it
crack the
Emma-
shit that AOC, immediately after the 6th, one of her first complaints was someone stole her shoes, and then it was like a week or two after that I was afraid for my life. Why is your first message that you're pissed someone took your shoes then?
Yeah, well, you've got the,
I don't
the
really. Yeah,
stick
I
to the
don't.
narrative.
I don't
Yeah.
have an immediate response of, oh my god, my shoes, and someone was putting my life in danger. No,
It's just
flip that around. My life was in danger, and some fucker took my shoes.
This is more gaslighting by these people. This is the only thing they know how to do anymore is gaslight. None of that shit happened. This is nothing happened before right this moment that I say this, and you're supposed to believe it, and don't ask any questions. And they're being aided and abetted by little minions everywhere. They're being aided and abetted by Susan. You're gonna
Sure.
memory hole this shit.
Yep.
And it's like, you've got these Wikipedia editors who are just awful.
Yeah, Wikipedia is becoming almost unreadable in spots.
I've gone and looked at a couple of articles, and I've been like, oh, wait, that is not, what?
Yeah.
It's just...
Folks, discipline yourself to not use Wikipedia. There is a lot of bad information in there. It's not just, shaded meaning. It's actually wrong.
The fucking germane measles.
Wikipedia is a great place to find a link to something useful.
Yes.
Scroll down
Yeah.
to the bottom.
Use
look at
it
the
as an
sources,
index.
Use
Yes.
those.
Yeah.
It's a nice little card catalog. That's what I use it for. I
Exactly.
really, really hate it when those articles are gone too, because they're always the ones I wanted, and then I have to do the deep Google dive because Google curates their content to the point of
Oh,
Use the
man.
Internet
absolutely
Archive.
maddening you.
Yeah, use
Go to
an archive.
archive.org.
Exactly,
Yeah.
archive.org is what I was going to say.
Okay, I'm stupid.
I just have Harry look it up for me.
I just have Serenity look up stuff for me.
I need
Yeah.
to have
Hi,
Harry look
Serenity.
up things for me. Yeah, really. Thank you, Serenity.
Thank you, Serenity.
Serenity is
Thank you.
a good researcher. She really is, and
Yeah.
it's worth calling that out.
She's got the bug. She's got the thing that makes us all a little. We're not professional spurgs like Sanguine is, but
We're working on it.
we're amateur. We're pretty thorough amateurs in
We're
that.
developing a habit.
I can't remember that. I've got to look it up now, and we appreciate chat being as patient with us as they are when we do that, because so much of it is not just that we don't want to say wrong things on the stream, because trust me, I have misstated things plenty of times, and I don't mind as long as you don't say you fucking idiot when you preface it being corrected. I mean, it might bruise my ego a little bit, but I'm not going to be a pissy. I hope I'm not going to be pissy.
When you
about
get
it.
to be my
Unless
age,
you
you
call
just
me a
forget
fucking
stuff.
idiot.
You just forget stuff, and you
yeah.
might say something, and it may seem, yeah, that's the way that works, right? No, it's not. It's something you've forgotten how that works or what that was.
Or the way, like articles will come out about things, and they will be about a particular thing. Most foreign holdings of real estate in the United States are black, and then and most assets are black, and then most this is that, and you're like, okay, where's the chart?
What?
Give me a chart, because now I'm confused. You're saying these people own this much of that, but these people own this much of that, and who do we owe the most money to again?
Right.
You know, I can't tell.
But sometimes even the charts that shouldn't change. Like, let's say that you're remembering back to college and thinking, yes, Lawrencium is the element with the most number of protons. No, it's not. You're not even close anymore. They've discovered so many elements since then. So
every time I look at the
periodic table, yeah, it doesn't even look the same.
I'm like, when did they add that wing?
Yeah, exactly. What happened to the Actinide series? Jesus.
Yeah, it's like a cantilevered sort of thing.
Yeah.
To the side.
You hung a shed dormer on the side of the periodic. It was nice and neat.
It's looking like Ptolemy's epicycles, if you really want to know the truth. It's looking so over-engineered that we need to go to a different way of listing the elements.
The periodic
Let's just call
table.
it
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
What do you have against you?
Yeah. Oh, I'm just. I give
When I
up.
was a kid, I could list off all of the. I can't even think of the name now. The
Elements.
song.
The
Yeah,
elements.
the Elements song.
Oh,
I couldn't do
you knew
that
the
now.
Element song?
Yeah.
That rocks.
That's a Tom Lehrer reference, everybody. Please drink.
Yeah, drink
Yep.
up.
Yep, I just drank.
And also,
Fresco.
just to go back to something that was said
Refreshing.
earlier
I'm so confused now.
about these people gaslighting everyone, can we just default to calling them the lamplighters since it's gaslighting?
No, I'm going to call them all Charles Boyer.
Just call them Union Carbide.
Nice.
You know the
God, we're so
lamplighters.
old. We make references like that.
I'm making a joke
I
about
referenced Shinola on Twitter. Skep responded to me. I was like, Christ,
I'm
that's
making
right.
a joke about
He's-
acetylene lamps.
He's the only one that would get it.
Yeah, it doesn't know shit from Shinola. And yeah, totally.
All my childhood, I heard that. I mean, I finally copped wise to what the fuck Shinola was. 'Cause,
Right.
You know, your parents never explain expressions like that.
Oh no.
You know, you just hear it and you giggle because shit's in it.
Right.
And then you realize that, oh, and ladies and gentlemen, Shinola is a now defunct shoe polish.
Shoe polish.
And they can't tell shit from Shinola. It's Union Carbide. What were those other lamps? They were used.
The arc lamps.
Arc lamps and
Mhm.
but some of the early lamps
Yeah.
that were used like in the 19th century. There was
The
No, those
iterations.
were those were the actual gas lights, and
Yeah.
essentially Union Carbide
they were
was a
portable
company,
ones.
right?
Portable
That
ones.
supplied a. It wasn't a carbonate, was it? I can't remember the exact form, but it was essentially a solid that, when you would drip water on it, would produce acetylene gas.
Right.
Thank you.
And this was the light source. It was on miners' helmets because, of course, when I go down into a mine full of explosive gas, I like to bring a flame.
I like to bring in acetylene flame.
I like to bring an acetylene flame because that's fine. But they had it on the front of carriages, carriage lights and things were like that, and people had it in their homes. And you would get a delivery of stuff from Union Carbide that you would basically put in this reservoir, and that was what fed the gas lights, because they didn't have acetylene lines run to all the houses. You got a delivery of like this solid, and that was how you would light your home, because it was a lot more convenient than candles, which are kind of nasty and burn and give off soot and, you know, not really great for large amounts of light. James Burke, in his series Connections, not Connections 2, but the original Connections, which is well worth a look, I think, even today, in terms of how to think about scientific discovery. Because the main takeaway here is scientific discovery is not a linear process. You don't just wake up and say, I want to do X. You actually have to do an awful lot of things that are unexpected and then figure out how things connect to make any kind of real paradigm shift. It's almost never the case of just starting at a place and planning it and then getting there. That's development. But genuine research does not happen that way.
And that's how we get all the cool shit that we get from tech development, because half the shit that we rely on now, it seems, came from the space race. Because we were trying to figure out, okay, we're trying to do this. Well, in order to do that, we need to do this. And then in order to do that, we need to do this. And we just come up with a bunch of different things, and then people look at them and go, you know what? We can probably do some cool shit other than what we're trying to do with this.
By
and they do it.
By the way, Harry, the original product of Union Carbide was calcium acetylide, or calcium carbide is actually what they called it back then, but it's actually calcium acetylide, which and that's how you produce acetylene in the way that you
Right, you just drip water on it, right?
right
It
exactly, and it's in the presence of trace moisture, technical grade calcium carbide emits an unpleasant odor reminiscent of garlic and results in acetylene. And they called those carbide lamps back in the day.
Yep.
And that was
I was just proud of myself for getting paradichlorobenzene before you did by about 2 seconds on Tuesday.
Very nice.
Wait, what
nice.
is it called?
Paradichlorobenzene.
All right,
That's
I might
mothballs.
need Sanguine's help on
Skep
Para-
knows way
It's
more
a,
about
it's
chemistry
a
than I do.
two chlorinated
No, say
I
the
don't know
word
about that.
again.
isomer of benzene.
Paradichlorobenzene.
Yeah, it's mothballs.
Paradol
Urinal
versus-
cakes.
Yeah, Harry, somebody write it to Jenna.
Para,
Oh,
Para,
di,
di,
chloro,
chloro,
benzene.
benzene,
Paradichlorobenzene.
chlordecbenzidine.
Para.
Para,
We'll do it after.
yeah.
It's PAR.
it's in
yeah.
private chat right now.
Yeah, I was typing it out too. Paradichlorobenzene.
I was getting ready to hit my please stop my board sound file.
Yeah, please do. Argand lamps were what I was thinking of,
Oh, okay.
because I've seen authors mix it up and call them argon lamps. And it's like,
Yeah.
no.
Argon lamp probably not going to work very well unless you have a neon sign transformer
Yeah,
sending 10,000 volts through it. So
But I've seen because it's
generated
argon.
plasma.
It was a Frenchman,
Yeah.
argon, mix up the sound.
Here today, argon tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah, that's
Ba-doom.
that's
I'm
pretty
trying
much.
to remember if acetylene light and limelight are the same thing.
Limelight. I didn't think so.
That was
but-
a folk singing group. There's a meeting here tonight.
You're not helpful.
I'm just saying.
No, but the whole arc lamp thing was a huge step forward, and then a lot of things we learned about arc lamps are actually used in welding now. And there's-
Oxyhydrogen flame directed at a cylinder of quicklime.
Oh, okay, that was a different thing, and the quicklime basically would radiate the light from the heat. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
it would heat to 2,572 degrees.
It was the
Celsius.
first bright
For
light that we were able to
melted.
produce.
Melting.
Wowzer.
Yeah, the light was produced by both incandescence and candoluminescence.
Yeah, and so when people talk about the limelight, they first started using that in theaters to illuminate
Yeah.
the stage. Because
Yes.
before that, you're not getting anywhere with acetylene. That's a low pressure, kind of weak flame.
Now, how many candle inches do you get from that?
I don't know. Yeah, I'll have to check.
And just cracking the shits. Candle inches is a unit
know.
of light.
Light, but they don't. It wasn't measured.
I know that.
I'm trying to see if it. They even mention it. I am using Wikipedia for this because the one thing they don't fuck up generally are science things, unless it's something that we can't talk about.
Germain measles.
The bell curve.
Yes. Yeah, the clear lights were the carbon arc lamps used in filmmaking, but lime lights were different.
Yeah, but they would burn through those electrodes pretty quickly. But like I said, this is how
Coniaphostic. That was what they used to call limelight. They used to call it coniaphostic light. I love that word. I just remembered there was a fantastic word associated with it. It's coniophoustic.
It's almost automatopoeia, except dealing with light.
Yeah. Anyway,
When you see it, you know it.
I'm easily amused.
I am too. I am vastly amused.
Simple old man playing with brightly colored bits of strings.
Right there next to me in the home, I was doing a quick check on our. Sorry about that.
Did you unmute him?
Yes. We're not going to pick on him.
No, love you, man.
The boy is exhausted.
Yeah.
I came poorly prepared for tonight.
I've got plenty to talk about if you need
He's
to.
not a Eeyore.
I would absolutely love that, because otherwise I'm going to pull the plug.
I have a somewhat inflammatory topic.
Please.
Oh, good.
And
I
this,
am going.
This is gonna make me even more.
Granny's
friends.
going to go winky tank. You start
Okay.
inflaming
Okay,
everybody.
I will get people worked up.
And
okay,
I'll come
so
back with a fire extinguisher.
You'll come
now
back
just
to
to
a
be clear,
riot.
I don't think that women can't be funny. There are a number of female comedians that I really enjoy, but when you go, oh, here's a new comedian, I want to check them out. Like I've been looking at Mark Normand, and he's got some pretty good stuff. And so you go and you look up Mark Normand and go, oh, here's this performance he did here. And, he did this particular set. And then you look up some other sets of his, and it's like, it's all different stuff. If I go and look up some of the female comedians that I actually like, don't get me wrong, I mean, these are people I like enough that I'm looking for more of their stuff. The amount of jokes that get recycled between sets over years of time is huge. You suddenly start to realize with YouTube that a lot of these female comedians find a joke that works and they just run it into the ground like Seth MacFarlane does on, with his jokes. I mean, they get all the mileage you could possibly get out of the same short set of jokes. Now, I don't know if that's a bad thing or whether they're just being smart.
I predict it will
really
be a
obvious to
change
me.
things. I think that will change.
It's pretty obvious. I mean, there are, like I said, there's some really good female comedians out there, but they all seem to use the same damn material year after year after
Who's
year.
an example of a comedian, or female comedian you like?
Oh, I was looking up this one fantastic joke by a comedian named Jackie Cation, and she does this whole joke about, as you're going through the dork forest, and you go further and further into the dork forest, at the end, you find the Civil War reenactors. She does this whole skit about the Civil War reenactors, which is hilarious. And you know what? If you go and look her up now, you find her doing that same joke. She did it on Letterman. She's still doing it. It's like last comic standing. Here's that joke again. And as much as I love that joke, I would desperately love to hear more than just that one joke. I mean, congratulations, you told one of my favorite jokes. You're awesome, but how about something else? Somebody like, I'm not even going to talk about Amy Schumer and all these other people, but it's really common to find them just sort of recycling the same humor. I can come up with some more examples. It's not that hard.
So, is the world on fire?
No,
Not yet.
he stated a fact.
Yeah, there's definitely this. I agree with you, Harry, that there is this trend that female comedians will find a joke and then they'll come up with, best case scenario, 4 different ways to tell the same fucking joke. Or they'll
the
just
same joke exactly the same way.
tell the
every
same
single time.
joke the exact way, yeah. And it seems like that is a very common thing. And the worst case scenarios is when their entire shtick, it's one thing if they have like 4 or 5 different genres of jokes that they have their one joke in. The worst case scenarios are the Schumers and her lot, where they have one genre and really one joke in 12 different forms in that one genre.
my vagina genre.
Yeah, well, she has two jokes or in that genre because the general genre is crass humor.
Mm-hmm.
Then her two specific jokes are my vagina stinks and I'm a slut.
Some of them also have nothing hurts like childbirth.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
they have that joke too.
Yeah.
How was Carol Burnett on the air for 6 years? And I don't
She
remember.
did have writers.
She had amazing writers.
She had amazing writers. She's also a naturally funny human being. She
Yeah.
can tell a story, and she can act.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. Same with Lucille Ball.
She put her writers on the air. That's what Tim Conway and
Uh-huh.
Harvey Korman were.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
a lot of comedians came out of writing stables anyway.
Yep.
I mean, or people who went on to do other comedic work wrote for other comedians. You know, Sid Caesar had one of the most incredible stables ever. I mean, Woody Allen moved through there. Mel Brooks
Mel Brooks.
came
Yeah,
out of there.
that's right.
Carl Reiner.
Carl
really-
Reiner wrote for everybody.
Yeah. But they also could be funny themselves.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you can, I often think a lot of it has to do with whether you're good at storytelling, because jokes are in many ways truncated stories. You know, quick set. It's just not all.
They're micro stories.
Yeah,
So
they're
it's like the
micro-stories with
it's the
surprise
relationship
ending,
of
you know.
Twitter to blogging.
Yeah, but it's the
Microblogging.
surprise. Isaac Asimov pointed out that one of the keys to humor was surprise.
Right.
Where you think it's going, it doesn't go. Or
One of two things happens in humor. This actually came from Robert E. Heinlein, oddly enough, that you would talk about Asimov's take on humor. One of two things happens, and this was from the book The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, really worth reading. Anyway, when they talked about the fact that humor either will have a surprise in it, or it will have human misfortune. Laugh at someone else's misfortune, or be surprised by something, and sometimes both.
Mhm.
But if you think about almost every joke you ever heard, you know, other than a pun maybe, will conform to that rule.
yeah, and Asimov's book on humor, he said one of the tragedies is there's simply no way for me to explain Yiddish jokes. He said because they don't translate. He said they're utterly reliant on Yiddish.
And they're reliant on the Yiddish family context,
Yes.
that having been raised in that kind of a culture.
Yeah, and he said they're.
Yeah,
he
you're right.
said, but generally speaking, except for jokes in Yiddish, there's a lot of universality to humor. But if you think of some of the, I mean, look at the blue collar comedy tour, for example.
Okay, the Jeff
How-
Foxworthy type,
How successful they were.
very.
They were extremely successful. All of them are storytellers. All four of them are storyteller comedians. Foxworthy is, Ingvald is,
You're done.
yeah, Larry the Cable Guy and Ron White. All of them are. I mean, they call me tater salad. Is
This makes me laugh.
absolutely hilarious story. And it's got lots of smart ass lines in it throughout. But it's all about they call me tater salad. Because and it's the kind of story that you could believe happened. You know, they're not so extraordinary.
It helps for that kind of humor, though, to have the same context that the appreciation of Yiddish humor requires. And that is, you know, Northerners might get the Southern humor. They might even think it's funny. Southerners will enjoy it more. It will be a richer enjoyment because they understand the context. They've known people whose nickname was Tater.
Oh yeah, and it's like just Ron White making the comment about coupons, or if you're from East Texas,
Coupons.
Coupon.
And regional peculiarities of speech. I have heard some northern comedians be able to pull the same thing, but either somebody comes up with a very good tag, a shtick, so to speak, or they're observational humorists. Like Carlin was very much an observational humorist. Oxymorons. He'd pick something. He had such a very nimble mind that it would dance from subject to subject, and it was fine. We were a little tired. I mean, at least I found listening to someone of Carlin's.
Oh, he wore me out.
And intelligence, because by
You
the
have
end
to
of
pay
it,
attention.
yeah. Robin Williams was the same way. Jesus Christ,
Exactly.
exhausting, and not the frenesy. It was the peripatetic mind.
Yeah.
And I found Lewis Black to be a very nimble comic.
Can I dig my hole a little deeper?
Please.
Sure.
Okay, so Garfunkel and Oates does a musical comedy thing, and they recently put out a thing on Comedy Central's YouTube channel about 4 or 5 months ago, and they were doing one of the same songs they did about 7 years ago. Now, I know writing new songs is hard. I know you've got to reuse this stuff, but they just keep doing this, and I rather like Erica Rhodes, Rhodes. I listened to a couple of her sets, and it wasn't very long before I'm like, I've already heard all of this.
Yeah.
And I know she could. She's definitely clever enough. She could do better, but I kind of look at some of these female comedians because, in some sense, let's face it, they're kind of getting by on being kind of cute and attractive and quirky. I'm in a man's world, that kind of thing. Look at me, I'm like a magical unicorn, I'm up on stage. And then they get lazy. It's like looking at all these white golfers who were complaining when Tiger Woods came up. And Tiger's like, well, you've been drinking way too many vodka and tonics and not doing your game and not working on your short game. You don't know how to chip. You don't know how to drive. And Tiger shows up with that work ethic he had early on and just crushes everybody.
Yeah.
And that just means that maybe Chi-Chi Rodriguez needs to retire and maybe everybody else needs to go to the gym. And maybe they need to treat it like an actual job. And I kind of feel like some of these women who have a lot of talent are not, it's too easy for them or something, and they're not trying hard enough, because it kind of makes me sad. You listen to Mark Norman, he's doing a weekly podcast with Sam Morril, and it's just like an hour of stuff with them just riffing for an hour, and it's fresh every single week.
And I think they don't get called out as much as their male counterparts when it comes to reusing material. Because when it comes to most male stand-up comedians, if you hear one show and then you go and you listen to their next show and it's entirely the same, there'll be a shit ton of people going, what the fuck? It's the same goddamn show.
Look, there were some really good comedians when Caroline's Comedy Hour and some of those things were on HBO. I saw them. Brett, what's her face? Another Southern Southern humorist.
Oh God, I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
her
she's
stand-up
really
shit was great. Rita
Rudner?
Rita Rudner. Rita Rudner had a shtick that worked.
Judy Gold.
Yeah, and she was good at it.
Yeah.
They were there. Feminism fucked up humor. It did. I mean, this third.
It just made it unfunny.
This third wave feminism ruined humor. They either had to go crass. And there's a way to be crass. That chick that used to do some of those roasts, she's funny as hell.
Laura Lampanelli.
Filthy as shit. But she can be funny as hell. I don't mind the filth if it's funny. If it's filth for gratuity, just like, okay, fine.
Boring.
You've said your vag smells like a barnyard 5 times, you cow. I don't care. In the days of Mad TV, there was a chick that the character she played, Bon Qui, was hilarious. She was quite fresh and good. I mean, I think she got married and just like moved on in her life. But she was the last female comedian I watched like an hour stand up and laughed through a good portion of it.
This just reminds me of I can't remember who it was that ended up getting everyone after him, but it was this one dude. I think he was a reporter or another comedian, and this was still when Schumer was really big and a hot name in comedy. And he took a picture with her and then went and captioned it something like, "So who knows who this slut is?" Because her entire shtick is, "I'm such a slut. I'm a filthy slut. I smell like a barnyard animal on my best day. Look how slutty I am."
This is a life accomplishment.
Yeah. And she absolutely tore into him because how dare he call her a slut. And a bunch of other
allowed to do that.
A bunch
got
of
a
other
bigger body
people,
count than 9/11. Ooh, you know.
yeah, a bunch of other people jumped in and tore him apart as well because that isn't right. Why the fuck would you call her a slut? And I'm going, her entire shtick is I'm a slut.
Sarah Silverman used to be funny. Then people start believing they're impressed, or they get woke, and it's like, oh, you tiresome, annoying bitch. Janine Garofalo was funny.
Yeah, she used to be funny. She really did.
Whoopi Goldberg used to be funny.
And
She
the-
did
and-
this,
and
She
the-
this
used to
whole
be really
bit
funny,
that was
and then
great.
that chick from Boston, very, very dykey.
Well, that sure narrows it
I
down.
know. You'd know her if you saw her. I can't think of her name. What I still say to this day when I see
A Bostonian chick that gives off dyke vibes? Who would have ever thought?
it gives off.
Who's that supposed to be?
God damn it! I wish I could remember her name. But the to this day, whenever I see a run of traffic cones, I'm like, oh look, psychedelic witches embedded in asphalt. Because it had been one of her lines, and she was like, what the hell is that? A psychedelic witch embedded in asphalt? And
I still love Judy Gold or anybody who was able to be on Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn back in the day. Because if you can basically sit in a room with like Bill Burr and Patrice O'Neill and throw down and keep up, it's
Yes.
like, you know that. I mean, Judy Gold is solid. I mean, she's very, very good. And they're not all lazy. I'm just my whole hypothesis or my whole thesis is that even when I find I like a female comedian, I become disappointed much more often than not that all of their material is the same for the last several years. Seinfeld would work a joke. Now, Seinfeld was like a technician when it came to a joke. And he was also very good. You hear stories about other people talking about Seinfeld. And he would go up to them and say, look, if you just tweak this one little thing, the joke's going to be way funnier. And people say the same jokes. I'm not saying that male comedians don't do the same thing, but they don't come back season after season with the same joke.
Right.
They create a whole new set
Talent
and they
got-
work it in the clubs until they get it to where they want it. And then, they go on to the larger venues.
Yeah, and it's a
Talent
difference
got the
between-
name of the person I was trying to think of. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, Paula Poundstone.
Paula
Guys, she had a
Poundstone.
TV series. She had a TV
Oh, yeah.
show briefly.
She had
and
a
it was
funny way of
fantastic.
delivering.
Yeah.
Paula
And-
Poundstone was great. She went to Disneyland and got 3 Nobel Prize winning economists, put them in the teacup ride, and as they spun by, she shouted questions about economics at them.
Yeah.
That's great.
She was great. I mean, she's the one
She
with the
still is.
psychedelic witches embedded in asphalt, and you can hear her saying it in that peculiar delivery of hers.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was
Sobriety has
almost-
helped her.
Yeah.
Yes,
well,
it
it's-
has.
And I think that a large part of the problem that you're talking about, Harry, is something that you can see in a bunch of other fields as well, just it becomes more painfully obvious in comedy. And it is when standards are lower. Because if they were held to the same standard of, okay, you've told that joke the past 4 fucking sets that you've had. Get some new goddamn material, or your next set's going to be your last set for a good long while. Which,
Well,
I get the feeling happens constantly when it comes to male comedians, and they'll have jokes that, yeah, by crowd demand, they return to. So you have, for instance, the Gabriel Iglesias will always work back in the Fluffy. He'll reference it in different ways, but Fluffy will always be there. And
Speaking, just as a brief aside, I was once playing pool, and Gabriel Iglesias walked in with his posse, and everybody's like, "Is that who I think it is?" It's like, "Yeah, I think it is." Sorry, go on. Enough about me.
so did the entire building kind of settle on one side a bit more? Or?
Actually, everybody gave him and his posse a lot of space. People always surprise me, like when I leave the keys in my motorcycle and it doesn't get stolen, or people show up and then like a celebrity and everybody's completely cool about it. The vast majority of people are pretty decent.
Well, you're assuming that everyone was doing that out of courtesy for that. They were just trying to make sure that the building remained balanced. So
we
All
don't
right,
have basements in
with me to
California, so it's
steal
okay.
Harry's motorcycle.
But yeah, the deal is that when you don't have that push from the outside to keep up standards and to make new materials, unless you just have that insane drive in and of yourself, it becomes really easy just to go, well, why don't I keep the same joke?
Yeah.
Why don't I just redo this entire set?
Humor, it's interesting though, because humor is very personal. Like some people will find something quite funny and another person won't. Because some people like more over the top, some people like more deadpan, some are looking for intellectual nimbleness in comedians, or the ability to act out characters and stories they're telling. There was some of the old time comedians that were always on the talk shows when I was younger that I never got why anybody thought any of them were funny. I just never did. I would watch it and I'd go, why is this funny? Why is this person a celebrity?
Or what am I missing?
Yeah, it was kind of like why is Joey Bishop here?
Are you talking about a
Feeling.
certain comedian that's really big in France?
No. I get.
Le Grand Buffoon. Le Grand Buffoon, yes.
I understand why he was popular with the French. I think I get it.
They like clowns.
Yes.
And that's all he was a clown.
And clowns in pantomime. Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
yes, yeah, Marceau.
Well, but it's also the absurdist theater, the panto, that kind of thing. That it's.
I do love since you bring up mimes. I do love that Mel Brooks had one word in his movie, silent movie,
No.
and it was uttered by Marceau, and the word was no.
It was glorious, absolutely glorious. The Talek. We're talking
Isn't
about
Jerry Lewis? Hello, everybody, or whatever.
You
That
smell
really
it?
high-
Hey, lady!
Lady.
Thank you. I knew it was something like that, but I had brain damage, so.
But there was
So did he, most like.
There were some
Probably.
comedians that for a while, I really liked them. I thought they were quite different. And God, and I'm forgetting the names of some that I thought were funny and some I thought were irritating.
Quite different is perhaps.
Well, they were different from the old school. They weren't Milton Berle or Henny Youngman or those guys.
Yeah, but quite different. It's one of those things that can either be a fantastic compliment or the most cutting of insults.
Well,
Yeah.
one thing about comedians, if you're going to stand up and you do stand up comedy, you have to have delivery, and delivery is the high art to me of comedy. Knowing the rhythm of a joke, that's something you either have or don't have. It's like a musical ear, it really is. And I think it's something that can be developed over time. It's different from musical ear that way, but if you don't have it, you can have the funniest jokes on earth. If you can't deliver them in a comedic manner, they'll fall flat. And the other thing was there's some comedians who simply get by on their ability to deliver, and you just sort of start laughing at their attitude. I would point up the classic example of this is Ellen DeGeneres, talking about her early days as a comedian. She didn't do jokes really. She just did this attitude, this kind of innocently cynical take on life, and was just telling normal stories, just describing normal things about life and her kind of wacky absurdist take on them. But it was her ability to deliver the line, to do something like, "I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. No, I'm not." She just knew exactly how to deliver that, and to make things that, if anyone else said them, they wouldn't be funny, but she could make them funny. She had real talent that way.
All of Woody Allen's stand-up comedian is sort of that. The jokes are very low key. It's all in the delivery.
Yeah.
He tells the story about being in the South and going to a Halloween party dressed as a ghost. And
this interpretation.
This joke, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. It makes me laugh just thinking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can like Woody Allen, you can hate Woody Allen. It's a great set. Something like, of course, The Button-Down Mind of Bob Newhart.
Oh my God!
Outside Shelley Berman. I actually prefer to Inside Shelley Berman. There's a bunch of classic stuff that's amazing.
Shelley Berman, very funny. I loved him.
Like I said, my general thesis is that
Nichols and May were
some
amazing.
people are getting by possibly on their good looks or something, or maybe they're just smarter because nobody seems to have noticed except for me.
Yeah,
and they're not having to come up with new jokes. So what do I know?
Yeah,
right.
Somebody like David Brenner might have a hard time breaking in now because.
Well, I'm glad you actually mentioned David Brenner because
he
did
a
a thing on Carson when he was just starting out, where he was talking about that Fiat commercial with Remy, the stunt driver, and to this day, it is one of my favorite comedy sets I ever saw in Carson. When I was a kid, I was laughing so hard I almost hurt myself.
He was observational and self-deprecating, but what my kind of style, those observational humor, because one of the jokes I so clearly remember him telling was he was sitting on a bus and he was sitting on a newspaper because the seat was gross, and a guy was like, "You reading that newspaper?" And he thought, "I'm sitting on the newspaper. Why would you ask me if I'm reading?" He said, so I stood up, turned a page, and said, "Yeah." Sat back down. And I thought, but it's that.
Who's that? Some asshole reading the newspaper?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's those stupid things that we all say. Instead of saying, "I'm sorry, are you sitting on that because the seat's disgusting, or may I have the newspaper to read?" We say, "Are you reading that? I'm sitting
you
on
can't just
it."
ask for one section. I mean, that was a thing people used to do. They'd say, "Hey, if you're done with the sports section, would you mind letting me read it? Or can I just see the pink section or whatever?"
Yep.
That used to be
What's
a
the
thing
pink
because
section?
it was entertainment usually. The point being that a newspaper was not only a thing you could take with you and didn't require power, but it was a thing you could easily share with people around you.
Yep, and when you were done with it, you handed it off to somebody, and when they were done with it, they handed it off to the same newspaper was probably on some subway trains for like a week.
Yeah.
Until
Or you'd leave it on the lunch table in the break room at work or wherever.
yeah. And
Sorry, I don't know why I'm reminiscing about newspapers for God's sakes.
Well, I
I
brought 'em
remember
up.
that.
But yeah, I mean, it was just like if you're done with the sports section, oh yeah, sure, here you go.
I went right there
This
with you.
e-ink technology is great. It's just like reading off paper. You know what else reads like paper? Paper!
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if you put Petty down on newspaper, it comes up with the words.
Yes, it does. We did that with Silly Putty.
Silly putty.
And the funny pages.
Right.
Petty.
Yep.
Nobody
That's-
calls them that anymore.
Yeah, the funny pages, yeah.
That's
funny
my
papers. Contribution?
to
Skep
this
grew up
newspaper.
reading
conversation.
the Cats and Jammer Kids.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Dark gifts, murder.
God almighty. I
Well, we
almost
made it
named
to
the
2
stream.
hours, Prospero.
I almost named the stream tonight Rar Basil. And then I thought, I don't think too many people have read Pogo, so it won't matter.
You didn't think we were going to make it, but we made it.
We made it.
We did.
2
Thank
hours.
You. Thank you.
See, now, just due to that accent that was
And we
used,
picked up 3 viewers in the last 5 minutes. I don't know what the hell that's about. Did Monkey
Just-
finally stop?
Yeah.
just makes me remember the Vindo Viper joke.
The Vindo Vipers?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
I've
don't-
come to wipe your windows.
I come to
I
wipe
am
and wash
the
your windows.
Viper.
Yep.
I
I come
am
to
the
wipe and
Viper.
wash your windows.
I've come to.
Functional shows up to say newspaper? Yes. Once upon a
Functional's
time,
been here for a while.
in the period between cuneiform and the iPhone, there existed on paper.
Talking about a few thousand years there, but
Yeah, I know. Well, that's fine.
been a while since I used linear A.
This is history condensed. And first the dinosaurs came.
They got too big and fat, and they turned into oil.
Oh my god, that was hilarious. I'm sorry, I love those airplane movies.
Me too.
I'm such
I'm
an
gonna
easy.
Terrible day to give up sniffing glue.
I know.
I think about Lloyd Bridges on days like today.
Yeah. yes, I can well imagine.
No, I cannot even begin to tell you how many times that phrase has been said by so many people I know, by me, by my husband. Pick the wrong day to give up sniffing glue. You know, when you're just having one of those, my God, wouldn't it be nice to be so blotto right now? I'm not aware of the shit that's going on. You know, it'd be lovely. All right, guys. Anybody have anything pressing they need to get off their chest before we wrap this up?
I've
Not
got some
pressing.
quotes. As always.
Yay.
Yeah, tell me when it's time for
Harry,
them.
did you have something?
Well, I was going to say, you know, in this whole thing about comedy, there are some comedy channels that are pretty decent, and all throughout the shutdown in Idaho, they've continued to actually do comedy. I know, what a concept. So the thing I linked in the chat is Erica Rhodes, who I like. I just wish her material was more varied. You know, which is sort of how I started thinking about this thing. If you go to that link and then follow the channel, there's actually some pretty good stuff there, and it's free. So, I mean, check out Dry Bar Comedy if you're looking for a new source of levity in your life, because some of the stuff is
Some of the stuff is what again?
quite
Okay.
good.
So
Right.
I was just about to ask, did
Okay.
everyone else hear the robot fart?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah,
I heard that too.
There was a
I
shot.
thought
Of,
someone got
sorry.
electrocuted.
there was a quick shot of static, and it went like. "Bah."
This is like signal noise on the line.
Comcast is so awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's truly.
Alrighty, Anybody else got anything to add before Mr. Tock gives us his quotes? Because he
Oh.
has good quotes.
Live long, prosper, and hide under your chairs if you see Joe Biden.
Oh, okay.
If you're passionate about something, make sure that you devour it. Don't let it devour you.
Excellent.
Harry's a clean on. I knew it.
Cylon, not Klingon.
Alrighty, children.
I'm going with clean
The
on.
crosstalk needs to stop right this second. Mr. Tock is going to speak, and then I'm going to sing us off the show, okay?
All right. Well, I looked up a couple quotes on comedy, found a couple that I like. One is from Will Durst. He said that comedy is defiance. It's a snort of contempt in the face of fear and anxiety, and it's the laughter that allows hope to creep back in on the inhale. I like the way you put that.
Yes.
Even more pithy was Christopher Fry, who said that comedy is an escape, not from truth, but from despair, a narrow escape into faith.
Aw, that's nice. Very
Had
nice.
away with words.
Yes, he did. Well, Chad, thank you for hanging in there with us this evening. My guests, Skep, Harry, Sanguine, Jenna.
Thanks for having us on.
Poor exhausted Adam.
Always fun being on.
No.
Yeah, it's I'm glad you were all with us, and I will leave you with Mark Twain's observation that man in his infinite poverty has only one truly effective weapon: laughter. Good night, everybody.
So now's when we just